Hi, this is Catherine. This is Taking Tea with Catherine. This is Celestial Seasonings Tension Tamer in a lovely Jane Austen mug because I am doing my TBR for Jane Austen July 2024. It is my 6th Jane Austen July. Imagine that. It was the first activity that I really participated in on BookTube because I had joined in the month of June. So here it was. And now I'm still going. It is one of the few now events that I faithfully stick to every year. Many I've had to give up for, not because I didn't like them, because there's just too much pressure. So this is one of, I think, 3 or 4 that I don't want to give up on. So, and one of the reasons is because I just love Jane Austen so much. So I really want to be a part of that. And it is a wonderful event that the 3 booktubers are hosts of, and I think they do a great job. The hosts are Katie at Books and Things, Marissa at Blatantly Bookish, and Claudia at Spinster's Library. And they are all big Jane Austen fans and have put together prompts that are basically the same every year, but they're still exciting. And they have suggestions and many videos throughout June and July. And I hope to also do some videos of my own Jane Austen related things that aren't just about what I'm reading for this month, but we shall see. I also hope to, it's one of my favorite things to do, even though my participant isn't really like participating. I like to do on Instagram what I call Jane Poston July, which is to frequently post pictures of my cat, Jane Poston, around books and stuff related to Jane Austen. We'll see if she's feeling up to it this time around. She's a nice cat, but sometimes not exactly into doing what I want her to do. Anyway, so the main thing about this is to get people to read Jane Austen. That is the main goal. And if you just read a book of Jane Austen's, you are in. And so if you don't really have a lot of time but really want to be a part of it, that might be a good goal, maybe. And the first prompt is to read one of Jane Austen's main 6 novels. There are 6 novels. There are actually more than 6 novels, but one is a little bit shorter and doesn't usually count in these 6, obviously. So, oh, that was a loud noise. What do you call it? So, the group read for this particular bit is Sense and Sensibility. I love Sense and Sensibility. It's one of my very favorites. It's not my favorite, but it's one of my favorites. Actually, they're all my favorites. But I did read it last year, so I thought of, I'm going to do, because I also, you'll see that I have a lot of what I call almost not experimental, but books that in theory I'd like to try reading because I've had them for some time, but they may end up being not so good. And so I really want to start off with the Jane Austen books that I really enjoy the most. So even if the other books I read end up being absolute disappointments, it won't be a month full of meh. And even though Sense and Sensibility isn't meh, it doesn't have the absolute thrill of these 2 books. So I will read one or both of these. And one is from this edition because it's a relatively lightweight paperback. Not super lightweight, but lightweight enough that I can bring it around with me. So this will be the one I carry with me, I believe. And this is Pride and Prejudice, the Norton Critical Edition. And it has a bunch of essays and letters and whatnot related to Pride and Prejudice, which I think is pretty cool. And so I feel like you can never go wrong with Pride and Prejudice. It's one of my favorites. It is exciting. It's funny. It's fast-paced in its own way. So that's good. And then I also, hi Freddie. I don't know if you can see Freddie this time. He's just staring at me because I am talking to somebody who he does not see. But anyway, I also have a book that my sister got me. And it was a lovely surprise gift that I had wanted for some time. And I always say this is my favorite Jane Austen book, although it's very much in competition with Pride and Prejudice. It's Persuasion. And you see this is a version, it says here, the complete novel featuring the characters' letters and papers, written and folded by hand. There's also a map of Bath, or Bath, however you want to say it, in here. So, curated by Barbara Heller. So you see here, like the sound of rustling papers. That's when my dad used to love that. He would have loved ASMR. But anyway, you can see these little kind of, I don't know what you call this, folders or little inserts that have these sort of things. It has the letter. If you've, I hate that expression, if you know, you know, but if you've read Persuasion, you know which letter I'm talking about. So I already had a look at that, but it's really cool. I don't really think I want to bring this outside with me. I'm not saying I won't, but I feel a little bit hesitant to. So this might be my stay-at-home Jane Austen book this month. Also because, like, I actually will have some days that I plan to be at home in July. We'll see. Hopefully not too hot, but you know what? That's another reason why I do like Jane Austen July, because not just because Jane Austen is my favorite author, but because I hate the month of July so much. I love to be distracted. But anyway, number 2, read something by Jane Austen that is not one of her main 6 novels. She wrote a lot of different things, a lot of unfinished business on her part. Oh, and Freddie is, okay, I got it out from under him. Freddie was on my book. Some of it is for Juvenilia, which I don't care for as much, but occasionally I will indulge in because some of it was funny. But this one is not Juvenilia. This is an unfinished work that I'm going to be reading. It comes from this volume that has 3 of her works. The first one was finished. The second one was abandoned, and the third one unfinished because she was at the end of her life. Couldn't get to it. And so I will be reading Sanditon. The group, I believe, is also reading Sanditon and the Watsons. I won't read the Watsons this time. I read it not too long ago. And I'm not in the mood for it. So I'm going to focus on Sanditon in this collection. So I'm looking forward to it because it was fascinating to see what direction Jane Austen was going towards. And it's both fascinating and kind of sad because you think, wow, where would she have gone? Like, what else would she have written had she lived even 5 more years, you know? But as it is, oh, I just did the math in my head and realized if she would have lived 5 more years, I still would have lived longer than her. Oh, that is sad and kind of morbid. And sorry about that. I go there sometimes. Let me have some tension tamer. Anyway, don't do the math. So the next bit is read a nonfiction work about Jane Austen or her time. I love that. I love reading nonfiction about Jane Austen. I like also reading about the Regency era. But the book that I picked as the Certainty book is a cute looking book that looks like I was just in front of Peggy Portion, which is a cute little bakery in London. So I'm always thinking about London or England because that is where I'm at, I suppose, even though I technically live in New York. And this is called Jane Was Here, an illustrated guide to Jane Austen's England. I'm going to do the tap thing that people do. I like when books are like naked hardcovers, I do kind of like to knock on them for some reason. Anyway, I'm weird. But aren't we all? So one of the things that my eye was drawn to, of course, was the orange cat because of Freddie. It does look a lot like him, actually. Actually, it looks a lot like him right now. Anyway, I'm not going to pan over because he doesn't need that. But, and so it shows some modern things here too. It does show a cup of tea. It goes into, from what I can tell, both places that she's been to over the years in England, places that were mentioned in her novels, and also places that were used maybe as filming locations. So I'm all for it. I am interested. I want to look at all of this and really spend time with it. I always, I don't want to say my whole life because that sounds really sad, but most times of my life since I've been to England the first time, I'm planning in some way to go back, and it's just a matter of time and money. And so we'll see. But even when I'm not going, even the time period in my mind, I'm planning it. So that's okay. We all have something, right? Look what it has. Like a whole, sorry, it's covering my face. A whole area about tea. Love a cup and tea time, Georgian tea time. Look at this dude. He looks like he needs to wake up, so he needs a nice strong cup of builder's tea. But anyway, so at the very least, it's going to have something about tea. So I love that. And I have another book that is not a backup book. It's just an additional one that I might read. And I may not like it. I don't know. I don't really know if it's going to be what I think it's going to be. It's called Jane on the Brain, Exploring the Science of Social Intelligence with Jane Austen by Wendy Jones. Yeah, there it is. And so I think it gets into maybe the characters and Jane Austen herself. I don't know. I will be surprised, I think, but it has green end papers, which I love. That's my favorite color is green. And we'll see. I think it has something to do with neuroscience. That stuff does interest me, and I hope I'm not disappointed, but if I am, I am. It's, like I said, that's why I picked some of my favorite Jane Austen novels, so that it won't be a month of. So, the next category, the next prompt is read a retelling of a Jane Austen book or a work of fiction set in Jane Austen's time. Now, I have a book that's on hold at the library, so I won't talk about that until I get it in my hand, because even though I think it's in transit, I just, don't count your chickens, right? But it is the next in a series that I've been reading the past couple of years, so I'm looking forward to it. And I have these 3 books that are possibilities. Like I said, I tried to go into the books that I've had for a while so that I could see if I like them or not and see if I'm going to retain them. Sometimes I pick up books related to Jane Austen that may or may not be great, but I see it and go, ooh, Jane Austen. So the first one is badly, badly rated on Goodreads. I mean, like, badly rated. And I've never seen a book that I have that badly rated. And that's Second Impressions by Ava Farmer. It's apparently a sequel to Pride and Prejudice. From what I could tell from the reviews, the issue is that it's very dull, about like it's almost like a travelogue of that time period, and that a lot of people say it just doesn't really have much in the realm of plot, and that you have to be a particular type of person to enjoy it, and I don't know if I'm the type of person. So I will maybe give it a go, and if it's disappointing, well, I knew it was going to be. So we'll see. And then I also had this book that I found. I'm not sure about this book, but I thought I found this I might not have. Wherever I found it, doesn't have a marking on it, so I'm thinking I might have found it in one of those little free libraries. So I don't know, it's been a while. But this one's called Mr. Darcy's Daughters by Elizabeth Aston. Apparently this takes place like 20 years after the events of Pride and Prejudice. So, and I think it's a mystery. I believe it is a mystery, and I think it's the first one. But again, the reviews were kind of tepid, so I will see if I start. Now, this one was the best rated on Goodreads, but it's not an attractive looking book. But I started it in 2019, so I really would like to continue. And sorry, nasals. This is called The Mistress of Longbourn by Jan Roland. I don't like the picture in the front. It just doesn't really remind me of Elizabeth Bennet. And my sister pointed this out to me when she was visiting. She said, what on earth is the spelling here? Longbourn. So this might be some kind of independent publishing company or something, but they really made a mistake. I don't think this is an advanced copy, so I don't know. But the reviews weren't terrible. The premise of this one is a bit of a dark premise, but interesting, in that there is some kind of, I forgot what kind of illness it is, that sweeps through the area that everybody lives in Pride and Prejudice. What's it called? Meryton? Anyway, but definitely Longbourn is affected, and it kills both of the Bennet parents. It kills every Bennet child except for Elizabeth and Kitty, if I remember correctly. And somehow, through some sort of legal finagling, Elizabeth inherits Longbourn, which we know is not what happens in the story. That if Mr. Bennet were to die, it's supposed to go to Mr. Collins. So I believe he does try to give a tough time to her in this book. We'll see. I know that I already read the scene that's early on where she meets Mr. Darcy at, I guess, a ball, wherever it was, when Mr. Bingley comes to town, which is kind of sad because there's no Jane. But apparently in this one, they actually do have a nice conversation and have a laugh, if I remember correctly. And I thought that's an interesting premise to start off with. You know, what would Mr. Darcy have been like if he hadn't been seeing a threat to both his friend and seeing these family members? how did he have reacted differently? So I kind of like that idea, but we'll see if I get to it. Now, let me see. Read, okay, number 5. Prompt number 5. Read a book by a contemporary of Jane Austen, published between 1775 to 1817. I'm sure if you went a year before or after, I don't think there would be that much of a, trap door. You're not part of this anymore. But I have struggled with this prompt almost more than any other one. Not because it's a terrible prompt, because a lot of the books I read during this time period just weren't good. There was only, there are some really great poets of this time that I've enjoyed, and there have been some novels that were pretty good. And I know I could read maybe the Waverley books, but I wasn't in the mood for that right now. Maybe I will be again at some point. But I decided, what did I do with it? Oh yeah, I decided to give one particular author another try, and that is Maria Edgeworth. And the reason why I chose her was because I was just reading Wives and Daughters by Elizabeth Gaskell recently, and she was mentioned, and I just thought, it would be kind of cool to go to I don't know, the example of the characters of, one of the characters in Wives and Daughters, and go by their recommendation. I always like that when you follow books that are read by someone else. And that happens, honestly, if you read Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen, you're going to really get curious about certain novels of that time. But this one is an author I've read before. I read Castle Rackrent, I don't think last year, maybe the year before, but not too long ago, during Fair Regency. And I didn't really like it. I didn't hate it, but I didn't really like it. So this was a bit of a question for me. Am I really going to want to read this book? Especially because there is some underlining in here. But that's okay, because it was a $1 book off book back when I found a lot of good $1 book off books. But that's another story for another time. But the descriptions sound kind of interesting, and I might pronounce some of these names wrong. It's the third of Maria Edgeworth's brilliantly comic novels on Irish life. In it, she wittily exposes the pernicious consequences for Ireland and for the wider world of absentee land ownership. So, Lord Clonbrony, like My Little Pony bronies, and his ambitious worldly wife lead an extravagant social life in London on the proceeds of their estates in Ireland. Oh no. Their son, Lord Colombre, or Colombre, I don't know if it's supposed to be French or what, refusing to marry the heiress arranged for him by his mother, decides instead to investigate incognito how the family estates in Ireland are being managed. Appalled at the corruption, mismanagement, and poverty he finds, but encouraged by the affectionate goodwill of all the tenants and the honesty of his father's agent, he finds a solution to the problem of his father's debts and his family's willful indifference. So apparently there's a good ending to this. We'll see, and it's not a very long book. I see more underlining, but it is at least worth a shot for me, I think, to just try to get back to Maria Edgeworth. And again, if I'm disappointed, so be it. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with these choices. I'm looking forward to them, and I hope you are too. Looking forward to your choices if you have any, or to hear about my choices, either way. So the next two prompts are not reading prompts, they are viewing. One is watch a direct screen adaptation of Jane Austen's books, or of a Jane Austen book, or watch a modern screen adaptation / retelling of a Jane Austen book. So this is the one I usually don't pick out right away, because I'm not sure. First of all, I'm not always sure what I have available. I don't really have DVDs right now to watch, and often I have to see what's streaming or what's available on YouTube, and it changes from one day to another. So my thought would be, for the first one, to do Sanditon. That was on, well, in America it was like, I think, a Masterpiece program, and basically they just took the story of Sanditon and, you know, spread it out a bit, and, you know, expanded it to the point that it became an actual novel, and two seasons, I think. And I wasn't crazy about it when I first watched it, but I want to see, if possible, if I read Sanditon now, will I be interested in it this time around? It remains to be seen. I'm going to also go by mood. If I suddenly throw up my hands in the air and say, well, I kind of want to watch Sensibility, one of the editions, or Persuasion again, or again, I just watched the 2 Pride and Prejudices I like, 2005 and 1995. I watched them quite recently, but hey, some things are worth. And then the modern adaptation, I'm not sure. I have no idea what I want to do for that. So cross that bridge when I come to it. So that is everything that I have for Jane Austen July and Jane Austen July. And I hope to not just enjoy reading, but I hope to do some Jane Austen-y things, like, I don't know, drink tea, you know, whine about my daughters not having any husbands. I don't know. I'm about, probably, again, getting to my age, I'm probably about the age that Miss Bennet was, Mrs. Bennet. I mean, I don't know. And I hope to talk about some Catherines of Jane Austen's novels, because I'm really trying to do a very slightly self-centered feature on this channel, which I'm trying to get to, is to talk about fictional Catherines and well-known Catherines in history. And we'll see if I can get that started in July. And that is all for me now. Please leave below in your comments which of these books you are looking forward to either reading or hearing about from me. And also if you have any plans for Jane Austen July, whether it's reading plans, viewing plans, or activities. Are you planning a tea related to Jane Austen? Are you going to dress up like her? Are you going to go to one of her spots in England that she refers to? Or are you going to pretend that you are, even though you live in far-flung, I don't know, Uganda? Who knows? Do I have any Ugandan viewers here? That would be very random and very interesting. Anyway, I'm just going on and on. But you know what? I just realized if someone came up to me and said, do you know of 2 countries that starts with a U, ends with an A? I already know 2 off the top of my head. United States of America and Uganda. Geography! Anyway, I am really going off the rails right now. So if you like hearing about Jane Austen and things related to Jane Austen and you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. If you want to hit the bell button so that you can get notices when I do post, please by all means do so. And leave the likes, the comments, all the things. And thank you for watching. This is Catherine at Taking Tea with Catherine. Stringing out this video for as long as possible. Have a lovely tea and book filled and Jane Austen filled day.